What is up, everybody? JT Dangerously here once again. I am here to do my 2021 NBA playoffs first round predictions. Now, with the NBA regular season in the books, we are now into my favorite part as a longtime NBA fan and where it really matters the most, the start of the NBA playoffs. And the road to the NBA Finals begins now, and it starts right here in the first round. So I'm extremely excited to do my first round predictions of the 2021 NBA playoffs for you guys this year, and I hope you guys do enjoy. Now, our record last year in the NBA playoffs on the channel, we went an amazing 12-3. So our overall NBA playoff record on the channel is 49-12. So we're coming in insanely hot, and I'm looking to keep it that way. So I hope in this video we will continue the red hot winning ways. We're on an unprecedented 4-year winning streak. Hope in this video we make it 5 years in a row. Hopefully. Now, if you guys haven't checked out my first round predictions of the Stanley Cup playoffs video yet, definitely go check it out if you haven't. And as always, show your support on this video and all the fantastic videos we'll be putting up on the channel in the month of May this year. And as always, show your support on the channel as always, guys, by watching these videos, super kicking those like buttons, hit that notification bell, commenting your picks, your opinions, and representing your NBA teams in the comment sections down below. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel today, guys, as a first time viewer and this is your first video, boy, pick to go in if you're a huge fan of the NBA like myself, and you're ready for the first round of the 2021 NBA playoffs. Welcome to the Dangerous Alliance. I'm JT Dangerously. Welcome to the club, because this club is two. Woo again. Thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into my first round predictions. Let's start off in the Eastern Conference with the #1 seed in the East, the team that has the best record in the Eastern Conference, as well as home field advantage throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers, and they will face either the Boston Celtics, the Washington Wizards, the Indiana Pacers, or the Charlotte Hornets. Now, starting off with the Sixers first, they're coming off their loss last year in a 4-game sweep to the Boston Celtics, and the Sixers are coming in this year the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And here's a crazy dangerous fact. The last time the Sixers were the top seed in the East was the last time they made it to the NBA Finals, back in 2001 when Allen Iverson led this Sixers squad to the finals before losing to the Los Angeles Lakers. So it has been 22 years since the Sixers have had the top seed in the East, and the fact that the road to the Eastern Conference Finals will go through Philadelphia gives the Sixers a huge advantage. And coming off the heels of another great year last year falling short, this year is must win because you got Doc Rivers coming to Philadelphia after what happened with the Clippers. He's here in his first year, got this team to the #1 seed in the East. And now when they say trust the process, but now it's time to complete the process and bring a championship home to the city of Philadelphia. And this Sixers team can definitely get it done with the backing of Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. There inside you have the winner of the 8th seed in the play-in tournament between the Celtics and the Wizards, and the Pacers and the Hornets. Now, if you're asking me who I think is going to be the 8th seed, I feel like it is going to be the Boston Celtics. I think we're going to get a rematch from last year's first round matchup. And if I was thinking of a wild card, I would say it's the Charlotte Hornets. But for me right now, the Boston Bruins are going to win the 8th seed and face the 76ers for the second year in a row in the first round. So coming from me in this first round showdown in the Eastern Conference to see who will advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals. If it is Boston, this series definitely could go 6, maybe 7, and hopefully it won't be a 4-game sweep for against Philadelphia again. But coming from me, I am going to go with Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Doc Rivers, and the Philadelphia 76ers to get it done and defeat whoever is the #8 seed. And now the next matchup, it is the New York Knicks facing the Atlanta Hawks. Now this is the 3rd postseason meeting between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. The Knicks have won both previous postseason meetings over the Atlanta Hawks back in the 1971 and the 1999 Eastern Conference semifinals. So Atlanta's looking to defeat New York for the first time in the postseason. Now starting off with the New York Knicks first, they are back. Finally, the Knicks are back in the NBA playoffs for the first time in over 8 years, and you talk about a long time coming for this franchise. As a longtime NBA fan, this Knicks team used to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference other than the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons. Back in the 90s when they had Patrick Ewing, the #1 pick in the 85 draft. John Starks. Pat Riley was coaching this Knicks team with Jeff, I think it was Jeff or Stan Van Gundy as his assistant coach. But the Knicks used to be a perennial team in the NBA in the playoffs. And the fact that we haven't seen them in over 8 years is crazy. But you got to give it up to Coach Tom Thibodeau in his first year in New York, bringing this New York Knicks team back into the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. I know a lot of Knicks fans out there got to be happy that the Knicks are finally back in the playoffs and they're finally on the way up, because you got some great players on this Knicks squad this year, and they definitely deserve to be in the playoffs this year. Players like Derrick Rose, a former MVP, Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Nerlens Noel. This team is pretty stacked, and they're looking to get their first series win in over 8 years. The other side, you have the Atlanta Hawks making their return to the NBA playoffs for the first time in 4 years, and the Hawks are looking to looking to make a big splash in their return back in the NBA playoffs. And this Hawks team can definitely get it done with players like Trae Young, Bogan Bogdanovic, if I said his name wrong, I apologize, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, John Collins. This Hawks team is really good, and they absolutely deserve to be in the playoffs, back in the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. So coming from me in this first round showdown to see who will advance to the conference semifinals. Oh, this one's so tough. Both teams back in the playoffs. The Knicks back in the playoffs in 8 years. Hawks back in the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. So this series definitely could go 6, maybe 7. But coming from me, as a longtime NBA fan, I'm happy the Hawks made it back to the playoffs. But for me, the Knicks being back in the playoffs is a huge step forward for this franchise. And even if they don't win this series, they're going in the right direction, and hopefully they will keep that momentum. But coming from me, I may get this one wrong. I am going to go with Derrick Rose and the New York Knicks to get it done and defeat the Atlanta Hawks. And now the next matchup. It is a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference semifinals between the Milwaukee Bucks facing the reigning Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. Now this is the third postseason meeting between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have won both meetings over the Bucks in the postseason, dating back to the 2013 Eastern Conference first round and their last meeting last year in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Now starting off with the Milwaukee Bucks first, they are coming off their loss in the conference semifinals to these same Miami Heat, and the Milwaukee Bucks are looking to finally end their losing streak in the postseason, because it just seems like they have an amazing regular season, but when they get to the postseason, they find a way to choke. Sound familiar? Sounds like the Houston Rockets. And it just seems right to say that the Milwaukee Bucks are the choke artists of the Eastern Conference. If the Houston Rockets are the choke artists of the Western Conference, the Bucks are the choke artists of the Eastern Conference. And this team just seems to just shut down in the playoffs. They have an amazing regular season. They had an amazing regular season last year. They had 62 wins, the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they found a way to lose in the conference semifinals. Not in the conference finals, not in the NBA finals, but the conference semifinals. So this Bucks team seems like when they say fear the deer in the regular season, that means every team has got to fear them. But when they get to the playoffs, it's deer in headlights. The other side, you have the reigning Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat, looking to make it 2 in a row against the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. And this Miami Heat team exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Nobody saw the Miami Heat making it to the finals last year before losing to the Los Angeles Lakers. Nobody saw Milwaukee even winning the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But they shattered a lot of people's expectations, including myself, because I didn't see the Miami Heat going farther than the second round. But the fact that they made it all the way to the finals before losing, this Miami Heat team is the real deal, and they're looking to show that last year was just not a fluke. And they're looking to catch lightning in a bottle once again and make another trip back to the Eastern Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals. Now this team has got some great players. They got Duncan Robinson. They got Jimmy Butler, Trevor Ariza, Bam Adebayo, Goran Dragic, Andre Iguodala. Even though they won't have Victor Oladipo for the rest of the season, this Heat squad is very good. And they're looking to show what happened last year was no fluke. So coming from me, in the rematch of last year's Eastern Conference semifinal showdown to see who will advance into this year's conference semifinals, If I remember right, I picked the Milwaukee Bucks last year to beat the Miami Heat, and that didn't go my way. So you know what? I'm not making that same mistake twice. I am going to go with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat to make it 3 in a row and defeat the Milwaukee Bucks in 6, possibly maybe 7 games. And now the final first round match in the Eastern Conference between the Brooklyn Nets, and they will be facing either the Boston Celtics, the Washington Wizards, the Indiana Pacers, or the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the Brooklyn Nets are coming off their loss last year in the playoffs, getting swept. Even though they didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they still were the 8th seed, getting swept in the first round. And the Brooklyn Nets are coming into this season quite possibly the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, and a team that, in my opinion, could easily make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, because this Brooklyn Nets team, being coached by legendary Phoenix Sun player Steve Nash, has amassed a super team, a dream team of some fantastic players with a ton of playoff experience and a ton of NBA championships. I mean, listen to this lineup. You got Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant, James Harden, who left Houston to come to Brooklyn because he wants to win a championship. This Brooklyn Nets team looks to be unstoppable, and they're looking to bring a championship home to New York. That's not the New York Knicks. We all know when it comes to New York, the Knicks have always been the big brother. Brooklyn has always been the little brother, the New Jersey Nets. But the fact that Brooklyn and New York are in the playoffs this year just shows that New York basketball is definitely back. There on the other side, you have whoever is going to be the 7th seed to face the Brooklyn Nets. And I already said I think the 7th seed is going to be Brandon Beal and Russell Westbrook's Washington Wizards. I think the Wizards are the hottest team right now. I think they will be the 7th seed. And just think about it. Brandon Beal and Russell Westbrook versus this Brooklyn Nets team could be a very interesting series. It's the dream team versus the triple doubles king when it comes to Russell Westbrook. And congratulations to him for passing Oscar Robinson for the most triple doubles in NBA history. But I think Washington is going to be the number 7 seed. I will be shocked if they're not. If it's not Washington, I wouldn't be surprised Charlotte, which would be kind of cool to see Michael Jordan, the president of the Hornets, and having LaMelo Ball on that team facing this Brooklyn Nets team. But I think Washington is the front runner to win the 7th seed. So coming from me in this final first round match in the Eastern Conference to see who will advance to the conference semifinals of the NBA playoffs. If it is Washington versus Brooklyn, the series is going 7, maybe 6. If it's anyone else, I can see it going 6, maybe 5. But coming from me, I'm going to go with Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets to get it done and defeat whoever is the number 7 seed. And now on to the Western Conference with the first round showdown between the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, the team that had the best record in the NBA and has home field advantage throughout the Western Conference playoffs, the Utah Jazz, facing either the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, the San Antonio Spurs, or the reigning Western Conference champions and the reigning NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, starting off with the Jazz first, the Jazz are coming off their heartbreaking loss in 7 games last year in the first round to the Denver Nuggets. And boy, what a difference a year makes. The Utah Jazz are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Who would have thought that the Utah Jazz, out of every team in the Western Conference, the Jazz would be the number 1 seed in the West? I don't think anybody saw this coming. Everybody was thinking, oh, it's going to be the Lakers, it's going to be the Clippers, it's going to be the Nuggets, it's going to be the Trailblazers, it's going to be any other team in the West. But I don't think anybody saw the Utah Jazz coming. And the fact that this team earned the number one seed in the West and have the best record in the NBA and home field advantage throughout the the Western Conference playoffs, this Jazz team definitely deserve it. Take note, this team definitely got it done. And being, again, a longtime NBA fan, seeing the Jazz as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference brings back so many great memories of the Malone and Stockton Jazz back in 97 and 98. Those wars with the Bulls in the NBA Finals. But I am very happy for the Utah Jazz, and they definitely deserve to be the number 1 seed in the West. When you got great players like Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, Derek Favors. This Jazz team is looking to really shock the world in the Western Conference and quite possibly make it back to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in years. There inside you have the winner of the 8th seed play-in tournament between the Lakers and the Warriors, and whoever wins, and the Grizzlies and the Spurs. Now, if you're asking me who I think will be the 8th seed in the West, I am thinking it's going to be the Golden State Warriors. I think the Warriors would be a very good challenge for the Jazz in being the number 1 seed. And if it's not the Golden State Warriors, I can definitely see possibly the Memphis Grizzlies or the San Antonio Spurs. And if you're thinking the 7th seed, it's got to be the reigning NBA champs, the Lakers. I think the Lakers have to be. It would be shocking if the Lakers don't make the playoffs after winning the NBA championship last year for Kobe Bryant and being the reigning Western Conference champions. But if you're asking me, I think the Warriors are going to be the 8th seed against the Jazz here. So coming from me in this Western Conference first round showdown to see who will advance to the conference semifinals, if it is the Warriors, I can see this series going 6, maybe another Game 7 for the Jazz this year. But coming from me, man, this one's such a tough pick. But coming from me, I am going to go with the Utah Jazz to get it done and defeat whoever is the number 8 seed. And now the next matchup. It is the Denver Nuggets facing the Portland Trail Blazers. Now this is the 4th postseason meeting between the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trail Blazers. The Trail Blazers lead the all-time postseason series 2-1. Now the Nuggets' last victory over the Trail Blazers in the playoffs, you have to go all the way back to the 1986 Western Conference first round 35 years ago. And the last time the Trail Blazers beat the Nuggets in the postseason was all the way back in the 2019 Western Conference semifinals. Now, starting off with the Nuggets, they are coming off their loss last year in the Western Conference Finals to the Los Angeles Lakers after they ended the chances of seeing LA versus LA in the Western Conference Finals. This Nuggets team is coming in still a dominant team in the West, and they're looking to make another trip back to the Western Conference Finals with a different result. Now, this team's got some great players like Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, the Joker, Will Burton, PJ Dozier, and some other great players. But this Nuggets team is looking to make another deep run into the postseason and get back to the Western Conference Finals. There is the idea of the Portland Trail Blazers coming off their loss in the first round to the same Los Angeles Lakers last year. And this Trail Blazers team had to fight, scratch, and claw to get this final 6th spot on the final day of the NBA regular season. Even though the Lakers won on Sunday, the Trail Blazers won via the tiebreaker. But this Trail Blazers team is looking to get it done. I mean, you got some great players on this team that can win for them, like Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, Jusuf Nurkic, Carmelo Anthony, who has definitely been a resurgence in Portland. This is a big opportunity for Portland to show that they can get it done. It is definitely going to be Dame time. It's going to be Melo time in Portland if they want to make a deep run into the postseason and finally get back to the NBA Finals. So coming from me in this very interesting first round showdown to see who will advance to the conference semifinals, this is a tough pick. I can see the series going 6, maybe 7, but coming from me, oh man, such a tough pick. I may get this one wrong, but I am going to go with the Denver Nuggets to get it done and defeat the Portland Trail Blazers in a fantastic first round showdown. And now the next matchup. It is the Los Angeles Clippers facing the Dallas Mavericks. Now this is only the 2nd postseason meeting between the Clippers and the Mavericks. The Clippers won the last meeting over the Mavericks in last year's Western Conference first round in 6 games. So this is the much anticipated rematch. Now starting off with the Clippers, they're coming off their loss in the conference semifinals last year to the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. And the Clippers are looking to have a different result this year and quite possibly have an opportunity to make it to the NBA Finals. Now this Clippers team is still very good with players like Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Serge Ibaka, Marcus Morris Sr., Reggie Jackson, Patrick Peterson, DeMarcus Cousins, old Boogie Cousins. This Clippers team can get it done, but they definitely have to make a better showing this year than they did last year. There is idea of the Dallas Mavericks coming off their loss last year in the first round in 6 games, but the Mavericks got it done in the regular season this year to make it back to the playoffs, and this Mavericks team, like I said last year, is on the way up, and they're definitely getting better and better. Every time they make the playoffs, they're getting better and better. But they got to get it done this year if they want to be a legit team in the West. Now, you got some amazing players on this Mavericks squad, like Luka Doncic, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps Porzingis, the Unicorn, Dwight Powell. You got some great players on this Mavs team, but they're looking to do what they didn't do last year and win a series. They're looking to do what they couldn't do last year and get a series win. So coming from me in this rematch of last year's first round match, I can see this series maybe going 6 again. But coming from me, man, this was another tough pick because I like this Mavericks team, and I also happy the Clippers are actually winning again. But coming from me, I am going to go, and I may get this one wrong, with the Los Angeles Clippers to get it done and defeat the Dallas Mavericks. And now the final first round match in the 2021 NBA playoffs in the Western Conference, pitting the Phoenix Suns facing either the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, or the San Antonio Spurs. Now, starting off with the Suns first, the Suns are back in the NBA playoffs for the first time in over 11 years, and this franchise has been waiting long enough, and I'm damn happy for the Phoenix Suns. We all remember what they did last year in the NBA bubble, nearly making the playoffs, but fell short in the end. But finally, this year, the Suns team just turned it around like a 360. And as a longtime NBA fan, I am happy that the Phoenix Suns made the playoffs this year. This franchise has been waiting to get back to the playoffs for years. And it's crazy to think that it's been 11 years since the Phoenix Suns were in the playoffs. And it's been even longer that they've been in the NBA Finals since their meeting with the Chicago Bulls when Charles Barkley was still with this organization. And this Suns team has really got it done with the talent that they got. I mean, you got Chris Paul, who has the playoff experience. Devin Booker, who definitely deserves to be in the playoffs finally in his career. You got Mikal Bridges, Dario Saric, DeAndre Anton. This Suns team definitely deserved to be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. And the fact that they beat out the Clippers and the Lakers in the Pacific shows that this Suns team is definitely on the rise. Even if they lose this series, this Suns team is definitely on the rise year after year after year. Their side, you have the number 7 seed, which will be determined between the Lakers or the Warriors or the Grizzlies or the Spurs. Now, if you're asking me who I think will be the 7th seed, I think it is going to be the reigning Western Conference champions and the reigning NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers, being the 7th seed. Close second, maybe the Memphis Grizzlies. Close third, possibly the Golden State Warriors. But I think the Lakers would be a very good test for the Phoenix Suns. 2 Pacific Division squads, the reigning NBA champs versus the upstart Phoenix Suns squad that got it done this year in the regular season. So I'm hoping it is Lakers versus Suns in this first round showdown. So coming from me in this final Western Conference first round showdown in the 2021 NBA playoffs to see who would advance to the conference semifinals. Oh boy, this one's tough. If it is the Los Angeles Lakers, I can see this series going 7, maybe 6, maybe even a 5 or a 4-game sweep. But coming from me, if it's not the Los Angeles Lakers, if it is, I really want to see the Phoenix Suns go far this year. So coming from me, I am going to go with the Phoenix Suns to get it done and defeat whoever is the number 7 seed. And those are my 2021 NBA playoffs first round predictions. Now I want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video today. Comment below, who do you see winning in the first round of this year's NBA playoffs? Who do you see winning those 2 playing games in the Eastern and Western Conference? Who do you see becoming the 7th and 8th seed in the East? And who do you see making the 7th and 8th seed in the West? And as always, let me know what you guys think. And as always, represent your NBA teams in the comment section. Even if they didn't make the playoffs this year or fell short on the final day of the regular season, still represent them. Let's have a conversation about it. Of course, I'm always on to see your comment, like it, and of course, reply right back to you, because comments and your opinions are absolutely always welcome on this channel. Now, I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching my first round predictions of the 2020 NBA playoffs. Now, before you guys go, as always, you guys can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with your friends. Of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you guys can never forget to do this as well. That subscribe button become part of this bigger and dangerous Dangerous Alliance. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we're about 6 subscribers away from the big 900 mark. And YouTube tells me that nearly 50% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So let's change that, folks. If you're a fan of professional wrestling when it comes to the WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NXT, and AEW, and if you're a fan of the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, college football, college basketball, Major League Baseball, super kick that subscribe button. It's free. Become part of this bigger, dangerous alliance. And I will see you guys next week for my official AEW's Double or Nothing 3 2021 predictions. Omega, Pac, Cassidy, Cage, Page 2, and a possible Stadium Stampede 2 Pinnacle Inner Circle. Later days, guys. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe and peace. The road to the NBA playoffs and finals begins now.